Good morning, Trevor, and thank you. We are live from the Forodha House, the sub-registry of the Supreme Court, which is housed at the Milimani Law Court here. An exercise which had taken 16 hours finally came to an end. As you can see in the tent where I am, there are no parties, which means then that the vote counting, which started yesterday in the ballot in the polling stations that the Supreme Court had ordered scrutiny for, is now over. The parties I was made to understand have retreated, and they will be meeting here again at 10 a.m. for a review of the report. That report, Trevor, and to our viewers will be submitted before the Supreme Court, which will be sitting for the second day of the hearing of the presidential election petition 2022. As you can see, the ballot papers, the ballot boxes, I beg your pardon, from Jombu, for example, in Vita constituency, that is in the county of Mombasa. These have been counted yesterday in the presence of the party's representatives of the presidential candidates who contested in the August 9th general elections. And therefore, Trevor, just to bring our viewers up to speed as to how the exercise looked like yesterday. For example, I sitted through the process which led to the counting of the ballot boxes yesterday from Majengo polling station to Vita polling stations 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 7, that is. For example, many have been asking, what's the process like? First of all, it did happen in the presence of the representatives or the agents of the presidential candidates here yesterday. The process started at 12 p.m. in the afternoon. And for example, when a ballot box is opened, that is in presence of the agents of the presidential candidates and the staff from the judiciary who are hawk-eyed and keen and who are doing the counting of the physical votes. For example, the ballot box is serial numbered, meaning the serial number is read to all the parties, and they are present, they confirm that. And then the aperture seal number is indicated in the ballot, that's also read to the parties. Then they go to the seals, as you can see on top of the ballot box, for example, in Jomvu, that is the Ministry of Water, Tank 05. The green sealings are serial numbered, so you have to read the 4 serial numbers, and the agents have been taking note, as we did yesterday, sitting through the process alongside the ballot box number. Then the ballot box is opened, the votes are counted physically in presence of all the parties, and then that is counter-checked with the details as captured in the form 34A, which is inside the box. So in a nutshell, Trevor, that is what happened yesterday. And at some point, the judiciary staff were concerned that the process was slow-paced. Therefore, there was need to subdivide the team that was here into other factions so that they can speed up the process. And you can recall that at some point, a communication was given to the Supreme Court when it went for a lunch break in the afternoon before the session was reconvened by the Chief Justice Martha Koome. And that team, as you can see behind the tables in the arrangement as to how they are at the moment in that order. So they had to break down the team so that they can fast up the process, because they had a deadline of today afternoon to submit a report to the Supreme Court, which was ordered. That is the scrutiny the court had ordered for. And there were some also who had questions about the number of polling stations in question. And first the court had established that the scrutiny ought to be in 15 polling stations. Afterwards, yesterday in the afternoon session, Judge Isaac Lenaola was very clear in the direction and said that the contested polling stations will be under scrutiny, and they numbered up to 41. And we did air that story at 9 p.m. yesterday in our bulletin. Therefore, these ballot boxes, as you can see here, Trevor, are from the 41 polling stations as directed yesterday by Judge Isaac Lenaola of the Supreme Court. And he said, we do not expect debate over this because of time. You have already consumed 24 hours of the 48-hour deadline that we have issued, and we expect no debate but total compliance with the direction that this court had given. That was in yesterday when Judge Isaac Lenaola had read the direction of the court. So these ballot boxes, as you can see also behind me, let's come and check from which polling stations they are from. And it's interesting that everything here is detailed. The data is very important. The Supreme Court staff and the representatives of the presidential candidates have been here since yesterday. For example, this is ballot box serial. This is ballot box, which is from Nandi Hills Parliamentary. And as you can see, it's numbered. The seal is tight, as you can see. This is after the scrutiny that was done by the parties. This is from the county of Nandi. And Nandi County, there were polling stations that were contested under the order subsequently given by the Supreme Court. And there is also another here, which is from Kapsurer primary school polling station. As you can see, it's serial numbered and they are all tightened. This is after the recount was physically done yesterday, and that counter checked by the staff of the judiciary who are led by the deputy registrar of the Apex Court. And to just get a note of then how this process went on, what happens next at 10 a.m., because it was a tedious process, long winding road that the parties were involved in. They were here for not less than 16 hours, you can imagine. There were no breaks in between except for some 10 to 15 minutes. And now they have retreated to have some rest, reconvene at 10 a.m., review the report, and then the same will be presented to the judges of the Supreme Court, who will be hearing today, the second day of the hearing of the presidential election petition 2022. Then going forward, it will inform, of course, their judgment, because yesterday it was the turn of the petitioners, who are represented by their lawyers, to argue their case. And getting out to check the security. And this is the Forodha House area, where the sub-registry of the Supreme Court, where that exercise was happening, just to get a feel of the outside environment, Trevor, and our viewers. This is the security. And you can see the team now setting or prepping themselves up. Yesterday, upon the arrival of the ballot boxes that were aboard or ferried by vehicles to be here, it was very clear that security was heightened. This is the subsection of the Milimani Law Court's premises, and you can see the security as it is heightened. Members of the security personnel here who are present and are keeping an eye on the exercise and ensuring that the ballot boxes will be again referred to their respective polling stations, because the count is now over. Given that this exercise is over, it was very crucial, Trevor, that that report will be submitted. So there were also some questions as to the returning officials of the respective constituencies the polling stations fall under. They were here to explain themselves as to some of the discrepancies that had cropped up, and in some instances provide clear answer as to why, for example, in one ballot box there were 2 Form 34As. Form 34A, 1 out of 2 and 2 out of 2. Therefore, they were here to specify, to provide clear answers to the concerns that were raised by the parties who represented the presidential agents. Therefore, Trevor, that is in a nutshell what happened here overnight, and we'll be sitting in that meeting for the review of the report, which will be submitted to the Supreme Court later on in the day to beat the deadline which was issued by the court. Therefore, back to you in studio. Back to your studio, Trevor. Later, we'll be giving you an update as to what will be happening here.
You're absolutely right. Thanks, Ayub, speaking to us from the Forodha House, where there was a tallying of 41 polling stations. But